Welcome into the Daily Wolves podcast. I'm your host, Evan. I'm with my co-host, Trip. Long-awaited Trip has come back. He's joined the show. We have a special guest in the house today, Mark Jones. You might recognize him from your living room television. He's called a ton of big games. Mark, we're happy to have you on today. How you doing, my friend?
Great. Evan and Trip, you guys do fantastic work on the Daily Wolves, man. I love checking out your content and your analysis and humor and game breakdowns. It's great conversation. So it's a privilege and honor to be with you guys today, man. Chop it up a little bit.
Thank you.
We appreciate that 100%, especially coming from you. Trip, I got you on as well. You're out from Detroit, Michigan. You were running around doing some errands today. You also were at work. We got you on a game day. Minnesota, obviously, they come in with the Lakers. We'll preview that in a second. But first, how you doing, Trip?
Good. Just having a lunch break here with Evan and Mark Jones. So it's a productive lunch hour here at the home office. So pumped to be here.
That's quite the lunch break, man. How'd you get into calling games, Mark? I guess to kind of start off the show here, because I think I'm wondering from just a fan perspective of watching you for years, listening to call games, and then I'm sure other fans are wondering too, like, what gets you into covering games and being that TV guy, play-by-play announcer?
You know, just always been a big basketball fan, especially NBA fan. I played college basketball at York University, and after my career ended, always thought about staying attached to the game, you know, and I'd done an internship at a local television station, watching NBA games at night and writing down highlight packages for the anchors. So I ultimately thought, you know, shoot, instead of writing stuff down and writing out these really fire scripts for the anchors, I wanted to do it myself. And ultimately got a job in front of the camera after my career ended, playing in college, and worked at TSN for 4 years as an anchor and covering a bunch of different sports. And in 1991, ESPN and ABC hired me, man, to do, you know, college basketball, host the NBA Today show with Dr. Jack Ramsey, God rest his soul, and David Aldridge back in the day. Some really talented people I had a chance to work with early in my career. Brent Musburger was one of the guys that I kind of worked with when I first got to ESPN, and you know, watched guys like Bryant Gumbel on the come up, and got some good inspiration from those people along the way and some guidance. So yeah, man, I'm blessed, man. It's been a great journey for 34 years now. Plus this June, it'll be 35 years at ESPN, and it's fun, man. This is the time of year I really get cranked up to get behind the microphone and tell some stories and document the games and have a blast.
Man, that's we get to see you on the play call all for the playoffs coming up. Yeah, I know you're a busy man, and we've been going back with messaging because of your schedule. What's a typical schedule look like for you, Mark? I know things are heating up because of the play-in, the playoffs. Do you like the play-in tournament, I guess, as well? And I guess what's your game day schedule look like? How do you get ready for a game day?
Yeah, you know, I love the play-in tournament, by the way. I saw Adam Silver at the game in Sacramento several nights ago, and big smile on his face with, you know, all the drama going into the last day of the regular season. I think that's a huge win for the league. But in terms of my preparation, man, it starts way before game day. So for like Saturday night's game that I'm doing in Los Angeles between the Timberwolves and the Lakers, I got home from my Sunday afternoon last regular season game on ESPN in Milwaukee. I did Detroit at Milwaukee. Believe it, the game goes to overtime, right, on the last day of the regular season. A game that one didn't matter as much in the East. All the seeds were already set. But Monday I came home, decompressed a little bit because it's been a long ride, man. Like between doing games with ESPN and the Sacramento Kings, my wife does all of our inventory and accounting and stuff like that. It's probably like 105, 110 games going back to last July. So I took 2 days just to unwind a little bit. And then, you know, Tuesday, made a few phone calls to some Minnesota scouts, some Western Conference scouts that have seen both Minnesota and the Los Angeles Lakers, people that I have good relationships on both coaching staffs, to get some of kind of the prevailing storylines, you know, who's playing well, who's not playing well, who's got something to prove, who might be hurt. Just get a nice broad picture feel for the series. And then I get into the micro and ask some of the guys, tell me what you see in Anthony Edwards and how he's beating double teams these days. And tell me what you think about who best is suited to guard Luka, and just a lot of strategical things that are going to come up during the course of the series that I'll discuss with Jay Billis during the broadcast on Saturday. So it's speaking to a lot of scouts and assistant coaches, and even some players that I know. I'll get on the phone with them or text with them, and through the years, I've been able to develop a lot of great resources with people. So to have those things close is really a blessing. So when the red light goes on Saturday evening at 5:30 local time in Los Angeles, I'll be well versed in all the statistical analysis, the analytics, the anecdotes, the storylines, and just I want them to play today. Shoot.
We do too, man.
It's fun though. The prep is part of the real fun of it for me, because being an NBA junkie, man, I can really never get enough. And then, it's interesting, guys. Evan and Trip, I on my iPhone during the course of the year, I've had Minnesota, I think 3 times this year, 3 or 4 times on ESPN and ABC. First had them on Christmas Day against the Dallas Mavericks. I keep a running file of notes so that I can always refer back to what was back then and what is right now. Like I was looking at one of my notes saying Anthony Edwards is shooting, 44% from deep back around Christmas time, and now he's at 40%, still doing exceptional. So you get a chance to compare some of the trends where guys are at. But that's really helpful too, just keeping some statistics, some evergreen stories, guys coming back from injury, DiVincenzo. I think I had you guys recently in Phoenix towards the end of the regular season, the game when I think it was Dante's first game back from his foot injury, and had some good stuff about how, Anta made a special steel plate on the bottom of his shoe so that it would help his foot get a lot of support so that he wouldn't re-injure it. So just really minutia, but stuff that really comes in handy during the course of a broadcast to take the player out of the uniform and let the viewer at home know what's really happening,
100%, man. What's I guess your outside perspective on the Minnesota Timberwolves then this year, Mark? How do you see the Karl Anthony Towns trade go down? The new guys, you spoke of one, Dante DiVincenzo, he comes in, Julius Randle, all that kind of going into this year, and then seeing the way it played out. Kind of what's your perspective on them from that outside perspective?
Man, it was like speed dating, man. Like they got to know each other real quick, right? And credit to Chris Finch and the coaching staff. They made it mesh, I think, a lot faster bringing in Randall and Dante than how it worked out with, say, when Rudy first came in. That felt a little bit more, not painful, but less seamless. When you look at the Timberwolves now, they have the 4th highest net rating in the NBA. The other 3 teams above them are all 60-win teams. When you look at the precipitous improvement offensively, right? Last year, they were around the middle of the pack, maybe 15, 16 offensively. This year, they're 8th. And you add, Ant's 3-point shot, you add Julius Randle's ability to facilitate as a playmaker, especially in transition. I think that supercharges the Timberwolves offense, and that sets them up for a really potentially successful playoff run. And we're going to find out quickly. Defensively, they're always going to be a top 10 team. They ended up 6th defensively in defensive rating. Great rim protection with Rudy. Everybody's going to talk about the one shot that Luka made over him last year, but don't go for the pump fake, man. I mean, Rudy's still a very, 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 very good defender. And it's going to be a factor against the Laker team that doesn't have that kind of length.
Yeah, I mean, I would say your network's favorite saying right now, Lakers in 5. That seems to be trending across
Is that
Bristol,
what they're
Connecticut.
saying?
Right? So I don't love your network right now. Not the biggest
That's Shannon
ESPN.
Sharp, right? That's got to be
Yeah,
Sharp.
yeah. He's got a Dan Orlovsky. It's going across all sports. And we don't love that. But I guess that leads to my question, like just high level. I know you're going to bring this up a lot in the broadcast, but just kind of matchup wise, I'm sure you're digging in now that you know the assignment, but at least high level, like what do you like about this matchup for Minnesota, and kind of what are you thinking as we gear up for this first game?
I think it, you know, Anthony Edwards single-handedly has changed the math, right? Because, you know, he's going to see bodies. Like they're going to trap him. They're going to tilt the floor. They're going to bring the guy from the weak side over to the strong side box when they're running actions for Ant. And they're going to show him a lot of bodies. They're going to have a lot of gap help. They're going to have a lot of nail help. And this year, you know, in this series, it's going to come down to guys like Jaden McDaniels making catch and shoot threes, Nikhil making the same, Julius Randle doing the same, or the ball swings quickly to the second side and it's a fast snap drive and draw two and kick again and get the Lakers in rotation. And the big qualifier this year for the Timberwolves is Anna's making threes. And if he's going to shoot it at that sustainable 40% clip that he's been at for most of the season, he's going to be able to see, I think, a little less double coverage and blitzes. Statistically, guys, nobody in the NBA has been double teamed and blitzed on ball screen actions more than Anthony Edwards. And that I think is going to be mitigated by his ability to make 3-pointers. And, you know, like I said, I think it lines up good for Minnesota in the sense that, you know, they're a little bit more mature in terms of, you know, going to the conference finals last year against Dallas. They felt like they left a lot of meat on the bone. They felt that I've spoken to some people in the organization feel that Dallas didn't beat them. They just ran out of gas.
Yep.
And they've got a lot to prove. And I think, you know, when you look at Randall, a guy who missed the playoffs last year because of an injury, 2 years ago, he was injured in New York during the playoffs. He's in a contract year, you know. So I hope he's not vegan because he's going to see a lot of dough. He's going to see a lot of bread in the offseason. He keeps playing this way, man. You know, it lines up pretty good. It really does. And listen, nobody wants to talk about it, right? But if you watched the NBA Finals last year, what were the Boston Celtics doing? Who were they attacking?
Luka. Yep. That's the
They're
key.
gonna go
You got to
after him.
attack Luka because they didn't attack him last year enough.
Yeah. And you know, they're going to have to, the Lakers are going to have to scheme for that. So if, like I said, if some of those guys that aren't the primary ball handlers, like that aren't handling as much as Ant and Randall will, and Conley, then yeah, you know, this is going to be a much more competitive series than what a lot of my colleagues at ESPN are saying, Lakers in 5. I don't buy it, Trip.
Good.
Don't
Glad
put me
we're
in
on the
that
same page, Mark.
Don't put me in that group.
Do we got it?
Appreciate that.
I think we got it, guys. I think we got it. That's what your colleagues picked. We got it on the screen there for you. Everybody's picking the Lakers. It's not small to see, but you got Lakers in 6, Lakers in 6. Everybody.
Nobody
I think
took Minnesota?
Nobody took Minnesota. Just a clean sweep.
Wow.
Kind of crazy,
I mean,
huh?
listen, if you're forcing me, you make an addendum on the bottom. You can give me Lakers in 7, but I think it's going to be a tough series. This is not going to be a duck walk for them.
Yeah.
You know, anybody saying Lakers in 5, they haven't been watching Minnesota down the stretch, 17-4 to finish the season. Yeah, people are going to say it was a light, easy schedule, but it's 17-4. You know, it's 17-4.
I think since Julius kind of found his groove with Minnesota, a lot of people around the league aren't taking notice too with how he's impacted the Timberwolves, and they've been fantastic over the last few months of the season. Not just the 17-4 going back. I think in the beginning of the year, from a close-up perspective, Mark, we noticed in Minnesota, Julius Randle seeming to not I would say kind of he looked like he wasn't necessarily a team player for the beginning of the year. It's kind of a harsh thing to say about Julius Randle. He looked like what you said. He was in a contract year. His points, he knows he has to get them. Not saying that's exactly what he was thinking, but it just looked like there was a disconnect. There was at the Toronto Raptors game in the beginning of the season. Him and Rudy Gobert basically had a public fight on the basketball court, and so it's yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those things. I think a lot of people too, when they get with Rudy Gobert, they don't appreciate him as much around the league or respect him, and it takes a little bit for players to warm up to him because when they do, I think they come together. We saw that with Kyle Anderson with the Minnesota Timberwolves throwing a jab at him, and then they came together and they ended up going to the West Finals with the team and being on great terms, and they had that successful season last year. So I think Randall's came around. He's became a team player. He's bought in. Yes, his scoring has gone down like we've seen from New York, but he's really bought in. His assists have gone up. His turnovers, they went down from the beginning of the season. I saw him start to play defense from a perspective, and he really started buying into what Chris Finch brought him to Minnesota, which was to be that playmaking point forward there, Mark.
Yeah, no, I think Julius is set up to have a really good series. And, Los Angeles does not have great length per se. And I'm not sure how the Lakers are going to match up, but somebody's going to have to guard Julius Randle, whether it'll be LeBron, whether it'll be Dorian Finney-Smith, whether it'll be Rui Hachimura. But you've got a guy who is a former All-Star who's in the last 10 games, last stretch, has played arguably his best basketball of the season and gives them somebody who can play with pace. You see, one of the weak spots of the Lakers is their transition defense too. And Julius is a runner. He can push it in transition. And Minnesota's not a high-paced team, but you guys can get some easy ones in transition. So, I think some of the early struggles of Randle were just a function of teammates getting to establish chemistry, and it can look really clumsy at times and awkward, and obviously it can get frustrating like it did that night in Toronto.
Yep.
But the one thing, I've known Julius since he was an 18-year-old when I first watched him play at the Jordan Brand Classic in Brooklyn, and he is not a selfish player, and he plays hard. And
sure does, yeah.
It comes from the right place with him. And I think when you look at the way he's blended in now, coupled with the fact that you guys have seen Ant more than anybody. I mean, he imbues his teammates with is there a better hype man in the NBA than Anthony Edwards, right? I mean, he
probably not.
he gasses up his teammates more than anybody else. And that makes a difference inside the locker room. That makes a difference with your crew. So I would guess that Julius, we're going to see the best version of Julius Randle in this series.
They're going to need it to
win.
And
someone's going to have to guard him. And if it's LeBron that has to guard him, now that's LeBron using up energy at that end of the floor that he might not have offensively. So.
There's very few players in the league, guys, where I'm like, you can match up physical with LeBron James. Julius Randle, he might be one of the few players in the NBA that can do that. I think if Minnesota's going to win in the series, not only do they have to attack Luka, but you got to take advantage of the big matchup here because Minnesota, all they have really is Jackson Hayes over for the Lakers. You got to take advantage. I think Rudy Gobert's got to have a huge series. Naz Reid, guys like that, they got to step up. How big is it for the big guys to take advantage of the Lakers potentially going small ball against Minnesota trip?
Gone are the days. I mean, the Warriors perfected going small against big and winning that matchup, but that's because they had Draymond Green and some ancillary bigs to help. But I mean, it's kind of, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. I'd love to hear Mark's take on this, but I'm of the opinion that you go small, we go big. Which matchup has a better night? Because that's kind of the way of the NBA, in my opinion. Is some teams just refuse to match big, some teams refuse to match small. And I think it's going to be potentially JJ Redick saying, we're going to lean into this, and us saying we're going to lean into Rudy. I don't know if that means even going big, extra big. Maybe you see a couple Terrence Shannon minutes at the 3 next to Julius or whatever. But point being, I like the idea of just going real big and saying, hey, if you beat us small ball, tip of the cap.
Yeah, that's a great point, Trip. it's going to be interesting to see who can impose their style on the other team. And if
Yeah.
Minnesota is, very insistent about staying big and playing Rudy, even when the Lakers go to what JJ Redick refers to as his laser lineup with Finney Smith, Rui, Reeves, LeBron, and Luca. If Rudy can be Rudy, and you heard his comments just a couple days ago. He says, "I got to be
Yep.
more impactful at the offensive end," and that doesn't mean he's got to get it on the block and go to work or anything like that. It just means playing out of the short roll and making a little cross step for a layup or spraying it out to a shooter for a play or hitting a cutter. It doesn't have to be, exotic or sexy. It can just be being impactful, even as a short roll playmaker. Then they force the Lakers into a disadvantage by going small. And then it's JJ Redick's turn to adjust. And, guys, I'd like to hear what you guys think. Like, maybe it's a series where Naz Reid really plays a nice role with his length and his ability to stretch the floor, because I thought he was as impressive as any Minnesota player last year in the playoffs, especially in that Denver series when they dog walked the Denver Nuggets in Game 7 in their own crib.
Oh, he's going to be huge in the series. I think.
Yeah.
We, like you said, Mark, we saw it last year with Naz Reid. This year, I will say he's been streaky. He'll have these 6-game stretches where he's just out on fire, averaging like 19, 20 a game. And then he'll have these stretches where he's trying to find his shot. He's missing 3-point shots. And it's weird because he's such a streaky player. I'm not sure what we're going to see right now. Towards the end of the last couple of games here, he was struggling a bit coming into this playoff. And he was trying to, I could tell he was frustrated. I was in person for the last game. And at one point I watched him leave and just throw a Gatorade cup in the hall. I mean, you could tell he just wants to be great. The one thing you can never question about Naz Reid is he's going to come out and he's going to give you 110% every time he comes out on the floor. Not every player is like that. He wants it really bad. He likes being doubted. He's that Brooklyn boy, that swagger from the New Jersey side, I guess, where he's from. But yeah, he's going to have a big series, I think, because it's just LA doesn't have anything matchup wise. I feel like
they don't match up with him.
They don't match up good with him. So it's got to be Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert. It's got to be a guy like Julius Randle, like you said, one of these bigger bodies. I think somebody's going to have a big game. I would bet money on that. Naz Reid's going to have an impact because he can do everything. He can drive. We see it. He puts the ball on the floor. He's I think he leads the league in hook shots, or I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. Post up percentage. And he can spread the floor. So I think Naz Reid's going to be incredible in the series. I'm wondering too, guys, how different the series will. Minnesota, they got killed, Mark, last year and Trip from the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic because Daniel Gafford was there. And he's huge, right? And he's an athletic freak. You can lob threats, right? And then, of course, the other guy, Derek Lively, was there as well. They picked apart Derek Jones Jr. was there, I believe, at the time too. They picked apart Minnesota. PJ Washington is springy. All those different players, guys, and now they don't have the lob threats. So I'm wondering, of course, Jackson Hayes is a bigger player, but if you decide to go small ball, you're taking away the ability to do the lob threat to Luka Doncic, right? So how could that impact the series? That's kind of what, because now Luka's going to have, it's just going to be different for Doncic.
I'm wondering who takes Luka, right? Because last year I can remember it was a lot of McDaniels, but if you put McDaniels on Jackson Hayes and use a small on Hayes, then you can switch that ball screen action, right? Listen, man, Luka's amazing in the pick and roll. He's going to get his at some point. I don't know that blitzing him is the best thing to do because he's big and strong enough to make those passes over the top. But it changes the equation this year, man, that, like you guys pointed out, there's no vertical spacing of the floor. Well, they do. They just don't have it in spades like they did last year. Jackson Hayes can stretch the floor vertically, but it's not the same as having, Lively and Gafford. Because when Hayes goes to the bench, it's a different ball game for them. But McDaniels played better defense probably like a third into the way of the season, right? He started looking like the Jaden McDaniels from last year. And I would guess that he'll still be the assignment on Luka, even though Luka's, physically a little bit, stronger than him. The length might hopefully bother him if you're Minnesota a little bit, but who they put into that ball screen action and who's covering Jackson Hayes is going to dictate a little bit of how they guard that and how much they can limit it. But then when Luka's spraying it out to, the killer thing for Minnesota is that when Luka's coming off the screen, he can either hit LeBron or Reeves, who are two pretty good playmakers too. So, you want to stay out of getting into rotation too much.
Yeah. I think we have to got to come to grips with the fact that Luke is going to get his, whether you like it or not. And ideally, you keeping him under 30, I think you have to be happy with on any given night. If you can hold him to 25 points on maybe like a high volume and not the greatest percentage standpoint, you'd probably be happy. You live with it. But yeah, I'm wondering. I was going to ask Mark, but you answered it. I was going to say, do you put Jaden on him, or who do you put on Luka? But I think you kind of just stick Jaden on him and let him get his where he can and make a few stops, and then focus on LeBron and kind of. I think you live with Reeves if he beats you.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah, hey man, there's a reason why they're the number 3 seed.
Oh yeah,
it was close. I've been saying I'm 31, Mark, for context, since I've been about 20. I'm saying this is probably the year the West is, a little more lenient, and it's just every single year you're 2 games from the 2 seed or 8 game from the 10 seed. It's unbelievable.
It's brutal, man. It's brutal, but yeah, I the one good thing about the Timberwolves, man, they can hang their hat on defense, right?
Yep.
I mean, they finished 6th in defensive rating this year, and I would expect at some point, and I don't know if Finchie wants this, if McDaniels is struggling against Luka, then maybe they use the quickness factor, because Ant gives you the luxury of getting some good point of attack defense. You don't want him to get in any kind of foul trouble, but that's why I think Anthony Edwards is a top 5 player in the NBA, because we overvalue offense in the NBA. We all do, and I think it's part of the media's problem. We don't value guys who can get you buckets at one end as the number 1 option, but also say, hey, I'm going to go shut down or at least take the assignment against your number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And how many guys like that are there in the NBA? Right? There's a handful.
Few.
Yeah.
What's it? I'm wondering, guys, too. It's Mark. This is a sneaky guy that maybe you'll be able to pull up on the call. But Jalen Clark, a guy in the series you might see. Maybe Chris Finch pulls him on the hat. I think that's a player that everyone would be like, who is this? If they're watching the series, like, who is this guy? But Jalen Clark is, he's came out this year, man, and he's looked really good defensively. People forget he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in college for UCLA. Came out with that Achilles injury, of course, as you know. And the Timberwolves, they get him. And this year he's been awesome. He's shut down Devin Booker, been on numerous really good players in the NBA. And so I'm wondering, he's a bigger body and he's tough. And the way he moves his hips is why I think he's such an elite defender. I mean, I think he defends in a different way. He reminds me a little bit of like Drew Holiday, how he defends. He just gets up in you, or he's really physical, kind of like Lou Dort. So it'll be really, I'm curious to see. I know Chris doesn't always extend the rotation. He says he's going to kind of, but I'm just wondering if push comes to shove, you need size. Dante's not really too big. Mike's not huge. Nikhil's not too big. Jaden might be in foul trouble. If you don't want Ant to get in foul trouble, maybe you throw Jalen out there for a 7-8 minute stint, kind of see what he can do against Doncic. I'm just throwing that out there. That might come into light.
Love that idea.
Yeah, might come into light.
I think we got a little glimpse of that in that late February game, right? I think I went back and watched that, and he opened up on Luka. And maybe Coach Finch doesn't want to give Luka and the Lakers too much of a feel of what that might look like if he plans on going back to that in this series. But that's a great wild card to have to play with, his ability to navigate screens. And like you said, he's a big enough body, moves his feet well in that Drew Holiday mold out of UCLA too. And that's the fascinating thing. Again, I come back to the series. Neither team has any kind of intel on the other. outside of what you see on paper or film, because even the one game they played with Luka as a Laker, Randall and Rudy missed it. And, Ant got tossed from the game, in the third quarter, was it?
Yep.
And
yep.
So, yeah, all bets are off. It's like you can throw that one out too. So, but I like that idea of bringing in Jalen, and I'm not sure for how many minutes, because obviously he's not a
Yep.
starter.
Exactly.
Maybe he try and match his minutes with Luka. I know Luka likes to play the first 12 minutes of the first quarter, and historically, if you go back over the first 3 years, even the last 3 years of his career, Luka's one of the top first quarter scorers in the NBA. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you get somebody on him early who can take that rhythm away, if that helps or not. What do you think, Trip?
I love it. I mentioned Terrence Shannon earlier. Like, he's another big body. He comes from,
Yeah.
he went to, he most formerly of Illinois, but many don't recall. He was at Texas Tech on a team that went to the national championship and was coached by Chris Beard, who's one of the defensive kind of geniuses of college basketball. And I think you put a big body, whether it is, and I love the Jalen Clark idea, or if you just want to put a big body out there. And I think where it would honestly come in the most handy, which doesn't sound necessarily the most practical on paper, but if Jaden McDaniels is simply not in foul trouble, but just needs a breather, you can put one of those young
Yeah.
guys out there. To your point, Evan,
Yep.
Finch doesn't love playing the young guys. If they commit a couple fouls, you live with it. But if they can kind of give a little bump to Luka, kind of get him off his game, give him some
Mm-hmm.
roughness to some 90s style of defensive effort, and they, you live with 2 or 3 fouls, they're in foul trouble. You weren't planning on them being in the deep rotation anyway. So whether it is kind of that savvy Jalen Clark or a big body like Terrence Shannon, who I do think could match up well with Luka, from that, he's
Mm-hmm.
super athletic, can kind of shift quickly with Luka's ability to get open. I would love to see it. I really would love to see those guys get out there. And I never root for getting in foul trouble. We kind of come from an era where you blink and Cat has 2-3 fouls in the first or second quarter, and you're scratching your head thinking, "Oh no, who's going to come in for him? We don't have anybody." But
Yeah.
Hold on, Cat just fouled somebody. I just got an alert. Cat just fouled somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly right though. So it's a different team than last year in the sense that Cat, oftentimes foul trouble, and you're kind of like, oh boy, this is our number 2 guy. What are we going to do? Whereas we've got a lot of different pieces: DiVincenzo, McDaniels, Julius Randle. We're a lot different of a roster than last year. And again, just to kind of sum that piece up, I'd love to throw one of those guys out there, and I almost welcome them committing 2 quick fouls just for over a 5-minute stretch to just get Luka. Kind of just you get someone off their rhythm, and I don't mind it.
Last
you know
year,
what?
Chris.
And the thing is too, like, if you bring in Jalen, right? You want to have enough. I think if you're Minnesota, if you're looking at it, you want to be able to play good enough defense on Luka, but not lose too much at the offensive end, so that you can.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the Lakers to be able to hide Luka on a guy in the corner, right? Because if you make him work, if you're calling his man up into ball screen action, you want that guy to be able to be a threat, theoretically. So, yeah.
I mean, the Chris Finch last year after the Mavericks series, one of the things he did say, and the guys said, is they felt like they were one wing defender away from being able to stop Luka and the Mavs. And this year, Minnesota gets Dante in the Cat trade, which is a wing defender. And now you have Jalen Clark, who you found as a gem, who's played at a high level, and you've got Terrence Shannon Jr., who looks like he transitioned into a really good role player in the future. And people forget TSJ. He's a 23-year-old coming out of the draft, and I've been up close with Terrence. I was there at Summer League to see him play when he first came in. He's huge in person. He's grown. He's ready to go day one, and he can match up physically. So getting these young guys to throw at Luka, I think that could be huge. Now they have multiple guys, not just one guy. They added multiple wings that they could throw in this series, guys.
And to be clear, Terrence Shannon Jr. can score at a high clip.
Yeah.
He's very good, decent shooter, very athletic. He can get to the rim like that. So again, he is a true 2-way player. So I welcome it. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Mark, it's been awesome having you on. I appreciate you dropping the knowledge. NBA fans, I'm sure everyone's tuned in when they do, and they're going to love seeing this episode, because I felt like I was just like, you were just preaching so much history of the game and facts. And as an NBA fan, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you guys. And hey, listen, I'll come back and we'll do it again after after the series. Okay.
Well,
Either
hopefully
way.
they
The Wolves win.
Yeah, win or lose. Okay.
Yes.
We appreciate everybody joining in. This is the Daily Wolves Courtside, and as always, go Wolves.